So, everybody good? What have you got from what I've shared so far? What's landed for you? Microphone, please.
I think the thing that's landed for me most is not to mistake movement with action.
So what's the difference?
Movement is pure. Action means that you're controlling or forcing something. So you see, movement for me is you're still showing up, but action is the doing rather than the being.
And I know someone watching this could go, "Oh, hang on a second, do I not take action?" It doesn't mean you don't take action. It means that you're not deciding to take action. You notice you've taken action. That's what movement is. Just so I can differentiate the difference for someone who's watching this for the first time. They go, "Well, what's the difference?" I mean, and they're just words, so let's not get stuck on words. But I know exactly what you mean, and that's very powerful. What you said about movement and action. Movement, it's something moving you, and that's when it's pure. When and John spoke about dancing before. When he can experience purity, he says in his dancing, and it's you can only experience that when you're allowing the music or the feeling that you're feeling to move you. If it's moving you, last week I had my engagement party. You should have seen me on the dance floor. I was showing the belly dancer a few things or two, but it's come to you in one sec. It's yeah, there is a difference between that. One is like I did describe this when I talked about when my client went like this. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't go like that. I mean, a lot of women do that. They flick their hair, right? Or they stroke their hair, or they touch their hair. They do something like that. But there's a difference between you going, "Oh, he's cute," versus bang, locked eyes or something. It's the two going. Sparks between the two of them. One is not trying to get the other one to have sparks as well. There was an instant connection, and you just noticed you did that, and then that's the movement. That wasn't an action you took. That was, oh, I noticed that I got all weak in my knees, or I didn't try to get all weak, and I didn't try to stroke my hair. You noticed you stroked your hair.
For me, movement is effortless.
Yeah.
Action is effortful.
Yeah.
So it's harder when you feel like you're going into action, but the movement is just this nice flow that you're in.
Yeah. Very good. It's good to be able to distinguish and identify these two things. I also want to talk to you. We'll bring the microphone over here. I also want to talk to you about the difference between being pure and being authentic. Okay? Will you remind me to talk about that after Jamie? The difference between being pure and being authentic. Jamie. You're trying to make it zoom in on your biceps.
You said something earlier on about having space.
Yeah.
For me, having space is rather than looking to make things unfold, noticing what wants to unfold. And that for me probably has been a challenging thing to stay in that space and notice. Just have to be really honest about myself, about what I'm actually trying to influence or manipulate, or in order to make it unfold rather than just letting it unfold.
Yeah. Well, the best way to see what you mentioned the word what wants to unfold. The best way to see what wants to unfold is what is unfolding. Wants to is you still trying to. This is what I think. This is what it wants to. What is unfolding is what wants to unfold. Otherwise, and that's it. You don't need to try to project to see what wants to. The fact that you use the word wants to could, if you find yourself in that situation where you go, well, I think this is what wants to, you're losing yourself. You're losing yourself to another moment. If you want to know what wants to unfold, look at what is unfolding. If you want to know how someone like I remember when I used to hire people. If I want to know how they're gonna work, I just see how they are now. Oh, well, I wonder if they will. Well, just see right now. How are they showing up in an interview? Oh, well, they're nervous. Okay, that's all right. That's normal. All right, just get to talk to them, get to know this. But it's right there. Like you can tell where the relationship's got to go right now. You can tell how a business is going to go. I mean, when I say how it's going to go, it's like how are you going to go in it, not necessarily how it's going to go, result, outcome. How are you going to enjoy it? You know, you just it's there.
I notice what is in the moment, but it's like I said, having a space of not trying to make that something. You know, like that's so can happen so quickly. I lose myself to making what is into something. Yeah.
Very good.
I don't know if the definitions are exactly correct, but what I've been noticing is we talk is maybe the difference between serendipity and synchronicity. Because I hear a lot of people talking about what you were saying, the client was talking about like this happened and that happened, it's so perfect. And it certainly happened in my own life where I said, oh, yeah, it just came to me. And, I ran into somebody and they said this. And then what I've seen myself do and other people do is make that mean something. Like it's serendipity, okay, but it doesn't necessarily. Your question of and yes and
Yeah.
is where the rubber meets the road because if it is something that wants to unfold, then the yeah but or the yes and would have a different. You don't have to make it mean something. So, and that's I think a big part of what people in other kind of new age spiritual groups talk a lot about. I mean, I just have been hearing it everywhere. Like, well, I should do this business because it's so serendipitous, and I've just been screwed on that one so many times. I've kind of, like, okay, that's it for me on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. Or the idea of what you know I mean, like someone going, well, this was meant to happen, right? Um, I get the same and there, like when someone goes, well, you know, this event or this was meant to be, or this wasn't meant to be, but let me see if I can relate a story. For example, um, let's say a mother's pregnant, all right? She's pregnant with a baby, and she loses the baby, right? And people come up to this mother and they go, "It was meant to be," or that's what the doctors. That's what they commonly say. Well, look, it was meant to be. Maybe the child was going to come out with problems, and this is God's way of undoing. And I get that. That's finding reason for why it's meant to be. For me, if something like that happens, it's just like, no, it is. Like that's why I get it is what it is. Dot dot dot. There's nothing. It's not this because if it's meant to be, because they use the word God in this case because I've noticed a lot of doctors say that. Well, it's meant to be because this is God's way of undoing something that wasn't perfect. It's like, well, God could have made it perfect in the first place. Why didn't he make? Do you know what I mean? Did God fuck up? Can you hear what I'm saying? Did he fuck up and go, oh, geez, I need to redo it? No, it's perfect. It is perfect. And the thing is, if something has taken place, yes, I'm not disregarding it's meant to be. Yes, it's meant to be, but there's no reason after why it's meant to be. The reason is just the human mind, just because they can't accept, they have to find the reason of why did this happen, or why is it meant to be, or why isn't it meant to be. There's no reason. It is. That's what it is. You know, so that's one. That's another one I always find as well. Not just spiritual people, but just worldly people of the world. Well, it's meant to be, you know. And yet, that first statement is I 100% agree. Like, yes, it's meant to be, or it's not meant to be. But anything else you say afterwards is just your own shit. You know, it's your own unwillingness to accept of what it is or what it isn't by attaching a story to support why it is or why it isn't. But that story is not real, because you could say, well, why wasn't I perfect in the first place then? You know, but it is. You know, or if it wasn't meant to be, well, why couldn't it be? You know, it wasn't meant to be, and and then you hold on to these things for a long time until you find the reason. Oh, wow, it's just. But if you're able to accept, it just is. You're free from the story and free from the requirement of finding a reason or a why in the story to support of what is or what wasn't. Does that make sense? Any other questions, comments, contributions? Microphone? Just pass the baton. That's probably faster. That's okay. It just goes off.
I have a question. With the movement versus actions, I was thinking back to, I don't remember which OMG, but I keep thinking about the part that you said, just because you love to do it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But if it's going to be a movement, that just happens and effortless.
Okay, let's stop for 1 second. Hold the mic. And what does effortless mean? I mean, what does it really mean? This will clarify a few things for you. Because when I say effortless, people identify it as easy. Okay, effortless means in the doing, your soul is free to do. Again, Amir Zogi's dictionary, it's my lunchbox. I didn't look that up in the dictionary. I don't know what it means in the dictionary. I don't even know what I said. Effortless is your soul is free to do what it needs to do. In the doing, the soul is free. When it's effortful, the soul is going against the grain of what it feels to do. Do you understand? This is a soul thing, not a physical thing. So that's why when I go do the thing that's effortless, people think, oh, do the thing that's physically or humanly easy. No. You might love, like I love flying planes, right? There is a lot of, I do aerobatic flying, as you know. There's a lot of work that has to go into that, right? But in that work, my soul feels free. I feel an effortless experience in that. I mean, when I finished school, I never opened a book ever again. I don't. I use calculators because I had to do it for business and stuff. But I didn't use a lot of the things, so I kind of lost it. But when I learned that if I want to get my commercial license, I must go and relearn or learn some of the things for the first time because I didn't pay attention at school, late in school. Was that effortless? Yes. Was it difficult? Yes. It was difficult. I had to sit there and study, and a lot of the things I did, I self-studied because I didn't have time for the right course to come up, and it was too formulated, and I needed to be able to do it in these time frames. So I self-studied, which is even way more difficult for me, right? Was that difficult? Yes, but my soul was free in it. I felt an effortlessness in the process of getting my exams done. Because when something feels true for you, right? And feels true means your soul feels moved to go that way. You feel moved to go that way. So let's be able to identify that. One is a physical, this is hard or easy, right? Which you'll experience both. in duality. Some things will be easy, some things will be difficult. You're going to experience equal amounts of difficulty and easiness spread around spread around different areas of your life. Some things will be easy, some things will be difficult. You go to the gym, right? You might have some difficult moments. You might go past your pain barrier. I don't know. Okay? But some of you will find that there's an effortlessness when you're going through that experience. Oh, my muscles are hurting, but the soul's dancing through the running. It's like this, you know? And I've talked about this for people who are into exercising. What happens when you decide to look at how long you've got, if you're a runner, how long have you got to go? How much distance or time have you got to go to get to the finish line? Or how much distance or time have you been running so far? What happens? It becomes effortful because you go into the doing now. What I've done this much, I've got this much to go. Where before you were completely to be free in the moment and the soul feels effortless, even though there's physical pain. Okay, so that's what effortless, when I'm talking about effortless, that's what I'm talking about. It's effortlessness. On the physical level, you're going to have difficulties, you're going to have pain, you're going to exceed your pain barriers, you're going to have things that are easy. That's a given. But it's where you're caged or where you're free is your soul. It's not physically. I know sometimes people physically are in prison and they're in jail, for example, they're locked up, right? But even that, you can't imprison a soul that's free. If the soul is free, look at Mandela. If the soul was free, doesn't matter if you put it in a physical prison, it's free. You cannot imprison a soul that is free. So did that answer your question, or you have, yeah? You can just turn that off now. So, authenticity and purity. You see, as you go deeper and deeper, you already know what's pure. You see, something that's pure doesn't need to be authentic. There's not much I have to say about that, so let's see where it lands for you. If you are trying to be authentic, and I've said this before, it means you're not authentic. You're not authentic. When you're using the word, for me, purity, there's just purity. It's just purity. Something that's pure doesn't need to be authentic. The word authentic or inauthentic, is that a word? Yeah. The word authentic or inauthentic is from duality. Now, sure, you can experience yourself humanly being authentic, right? Purity is from the soul. Purity when something is pure, it doesn't require approval, it doesn't require it for it to be authentic. It's just pure. But not many people can be pure. Some people have long lost themselves in the being streetwise mode. It doesn't mean they're not authentic or they're not nice people, right? It means they can't let themselves be pure. There's a slight difference. Go back to the example of a child. When the child's being pure, does it matter whether it's being authentic or, you can't even say, is he being authentic or is he being non-authentic? What are you talking about? How's the child being authentic or non-authentic? It doesn't come to the same page. It's pure. There's no such thing as if the child being authentic or not. It's pure. Or if you're saying, well, the child is so authentic, it doesn't even make sense. You can't even use that. Why can't we use that? Why can't we say, well, the child's so authentic? Because when you say something is authentic, you can also say, well, it's not authentic. Well, are you saying there's moments where the child's not being authentic? You know, 3-month-old child, is it being authentic or non-authentic? Inauthentic? It's just pure. It's in the middle. You know, a lot of this journey, and I was speaking to Mandy about this just a few days ago. A lot of this journey, people are either here being really, really streetwise, and what streetwise is about, you know, like the lion knows you need to kill this, and that knows you need to kill that, and feed this, and that's the streetwise part, right? And when you notice you're being streetwise, you're just, you know, you're smart, intelligent around business. You're clever. You know how to make money. You know how to be charming, or you know, that's streetwise stuff. Okay, or if you're a crook, you know how to be threatening. You know, that's what street. Because when I say streetwise, people think in gangs here. So let's make sure we're not talking. Streetwise means, and it could be someone who's very wealthy, but they're very charming. They use their charm to get what they want to do. You know, they're very polite. Politeness. It just depends which class you're. You know, which animal you are and where you live. Have you noticed animals? Some animals don't use their strength. Some animals are sneaky, little sneaky ones. You know. Go watch Animal Kingdom. Some just use their brutality and strength, and you know. So it depends what game you play. But it's all streetwise stuff. Being very intelligent person, being very clever, being charming, being very polite, being angry, being threatening. All streetwise stuff. All right? So you've got this world of being streetwise, and then you've got this world of being soulful, if you like, spiritual. You know, and I've related to this by talking about people, you know, climbing the corporate ladder. I say, oh, they're climbing the corporate ladder. Here they are, you know, being streetwise, climbing the corporate ladder. And then they go, oh, there's nothing up here. I've climbed the corporate ladder. It's not what I'm looking for. So then they change the corporate ladder and they come over here and they start climbing the spiritual ladder. And it's about being more spiritual than the other person. And how much money can I make out of it? I want to do what I love and make good money out of it. That's a famous statement. I want to make money. I want to do what I love and make good money out of it. And you're doing exactly the same thing over here. It's just a different game. Okay? So what I notice is people go from here to here, or from here to here. Or they go between the two for a little while. Right? So over here you're being all spiritual, or you have the other statement, the opposite, the polar opposite, which is, you know, I just don't care about money. I just, you know, money's not important for me. You know, you're playing that spiritual game. All right? Or over here, you're being a corporate company, but you're not ruthless. You're all about giving and giving to charity and da-da-da. But it's all about building your brand. It has nothing to do with what you care. It's just about building the brand. They're all the same games. Right? This is all streetwise stuff. Right? Something in the middle here is called purity. People jump between the both. Right? I found myself falling into the middle. I didn't know how to get there. It just happened. Does it mean I'm pure all the time? No. Before, like I said to you, I had to learn to be streetwise. I cared a lot about what other people thought. I cared a lot about not impacting or hurting someone else. Not, you know, all that stuff. Then I went to the complete opposite. I don't give a fuck what you think. I went to that spectrum. And then I just started finding myself more and more getting into this middle. In this middle, it's the most free that I have been, not just in my soul, but in the physical world as well. Where I would notice that things will happen naturally. And there's no requirement for me to do anything about it. And when I say there's no requirement for me to do anything about it, it's because whatever is neither here or there. And that's what I can't explain to you. I love this. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. Like, when I say it doesn't matter, it's not like, oh, it doesn't matter. It will happen later. Or it's not meant to be. It is what it is. Like, if this is what's but But what it is neither here or there. Do you understand? Like, there's things unfolding for me in my life right now, whether it's in business. Let's just talk about in business, right? There's some opportunities that are unfolding for me right now in my life. But if it goes like this or it goes like this, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't stop me from expressing my love. It doesn't stop me from being who I want to be or who I am. It doesn't change anything. It's neither here or there. So this middle ground is what I like to call purity. I was speaking to another client again, and when I say another client, a lot of this is probably you guys, but I just don't want to mention names just in case you didn't want me to. But because some of the things I say, some of you go, oh yeah, I know who that was. But I was speaking to another client recently, and they were like talking to me about, why is it that, because they're like, what I love is just unfolding for me, but it's like right when it's about to be grasped, I'm about to grab it, like it crumbles or it changes to something else that it wasn't when it was first offered to me, right? When it was first presented to me. And so that's how the question arose. So I was having a chat with them, and I said, look, and what I found was for this individual was like, they will allow things to happen. And we talk about that you gotta show up, right? So I find that some people show up and they only just show up. Like they're showing up, going, come on, let's go. I'm showing up, I've made a decision. When you decide and then you let whatever you've decided on to catch up with you, like I've decided, like, and they use the absolute certainty and they're like, this is what I'm doing, I've done that. Okay, I know that one really well. All right. So there's that. So I no problem showing up. I show up. I'm showing up, right? Then there's the ones who, on the opposite spectrum, I just want to allow it to happen, man. I just, if it's gonna be, it's gonna come to me. It's one of my quotes, right? So yeah, it's just, if it's not happening, it's not happening, right? And then there's this purity, right, where you will notice that yes, you're showing up, but you're showing up in appreciation for what is, right, and what's meant to be, or whatever it is that's an outcome or a result or whatever this is here that you're moving towards is moving towards you. The two is moving towards each other. It's like if I want to be in a relationship, right, which I am, but if I wasn't and I wanted to be in a relationship, you want the relationship for the two to come together. Not just go, hey, this one's still just pestering this one and this one's not really interested and you're trying to manipulate or influence. Look, I'm pretty good. Look at my guns. I've got money. I've got, you know what I mean? No, you want the two to be coming together and the natural accord. Okay? So that's the same thing with manifestation. One person is just showing up. I'm showing up, but they're not. I mean, they are, but they're showing up with force. They're trying to make their presence known because they lack this part. One is just this part. Let me there, I'm just being pure. And that's cool too. It's two different experiences. But then I noticed there's this one part where I'm showing up, right? But I know there's this being dangled in front of me, like as an idea, as a conversation, or as a business that I'm working on. But I'm no way going, all right, there it is, got it. No freak away. I just take the steps towards it and move to it and just keep showing up in this moment, not going showing up in this moment and go, there it is. No. I only say there it is when that has come to me and we have met in the middle, in the moment of purity. If it hasn't, if we're not meeting in the middle, I don't want it. I don't want it. It takes great strength, willingness, and lots of experience to get to that moment of purity. For me, it has. I don't know, maybe you guys are more pure naturally than I am. But for me, it took a while for me to really, really go, okay, I'm just going to show up. And, and showing up means showing up in what I love. I love to do this, I show up. And I can give you some real life examples about this. Okay, I don't have time for the module, but I can talk about some real life examples. In fact, probably in this retreat that we're going to be having, I will bring some real life stuff and tell you this is how things are unfolding for me, without any push. But I'm showing up. But this is the thing: the difference between showing up when this client was talking to me, I said the difference between you showing up and me showing up is I show up for myself. You're showing up for that outcome. That's the difference. You showing up, yeah, I'm showing up. I'm showing up for that outcome. I got one thing in mind, bang, I'm showing up. I'm not showing up for that outcome. I'm showing up for me, for what I love, for who I am in this moment. It's pure. And that moment of purity where the two come together, and the two coming together is where you and your outcome or result come together. It happens itself, and it happens in the middle. That's graceful. And this coming together is a dance. It's like you haven't seen someone for a long time. The coming together, you're loving every single moment. You see them getting off the plane and you go to hug each other. Like in the movies, they're running. Music playing. It's like, it's beautiful. Not, come on. That's purity. And it makes sense, even. Because when you're pure, you're one with one thing. If you're not one with one thing, then you're trying to get that one thing. Why would I have a quote that I wrote yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple of days ago, and it said something along the lines of, those who are pure only desire that which is already theirs. Yeah, that's what Kira said. Oh, those that are pure only desire that which is already theirs. I mean, ponder that for a while. And it's not, oh, that's mine already. Like, it's not mine yet, but I know that we're going to be together. I know that I'm going to have that lifestyle. That's because that's what I deserve. Not that. It's already yours. It's like the two seeing each other for the first time, slow motion, running towards each other. It's you're already part of it. When you're pure with one thing, you're already part of it. Pure means you're one. Then it's just this game and dance, how these two become one again in the story, in form. But if one part starts to try to manipulate or do whatever it can to get this other drop to do what it needs to do, it's not pure anymore. It's lost its moment of purity. The moment you desired something, the moment you have a seed of desire, it comes from a moment of purity. And the moment that you have that seed of desire, you feel as though it's already happened. Everyone here knows that feeling. You feel as though it's when you go, well, what do I have to do to get that? What do I need to do to work on that? Where you lose your moment of purity. And then it's about being, again, nothing wrong with this, it's about being street smart. It's about selling, manipulating, tricking, influencing, whatever you want to call it. Being super polite, being super calm. But I'm calm. Or being super forceful. Whatever it is, that's your animal instinct that comes out, that goes, wow. Or that goes, wow. I don't know which animal instincts you use. That is purity. What do you reckon, Mama Carolyn? Can we have a moment? microphone.
I really like the concept of purity. I like the way that it's so clean and conveys, exactly what you need to know about it. Kind of shifts things a little bit.
How so?
Because I think your example of like how pure children are really resonates for me. That for example, I work with a lot of people who ascribe certain emotions or behaviors to their children, like, well, he's just being bad, and I've always just felt, well, that's a child, they're never bad. They may do something you don't like, but so that really resonates for me, and I think it's very centering.
So how do you think purity applies for you?
In the past, year, or certainly in the past 6 months, I've been really feeling what it's like to allow versus make things happen. And I've also been noticing my own growing street smarts, because I've always been pretty naive about people, and even in business tend to be somewhat more naive and kind of trusting. So I think this is bringing it together in a way that, all of the pieces that I've been feeling are coming together.
Cool. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else? What's up, Roz? Do you have anything to say? Hang on. Say again what you just said. What did you say?
I'm not sure. I can feel there's something there, but I can't articulate it. I can feel it.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant. So you know what I'm talking about purity. Do you know what?
I can feel what you're talking about.
Yeah.
From a mind point, I don't comprehend it.
Okay. Anyone else? Why do you need to comprehend it from your mind?
I don't. It's just that you asked me.
So from a feeling point of view, where did this land for you?
Probably through my core, and yeah, it just feels solid and grounded. Just is.
Cool. Thanks. Leonard? What did you say?
So I can always say something. Yeah, I guess the way how I live kind of daily, and it kind of, when I think about the hair flicking thing and not.
You can't do
No,
that.
I can't do that. Sometimes I wish I could. But
Do you have a beard flicking thing?
I think it's about. I mean, I don't. When something happens, or there's an event that happens in my life, or an interaction with someone, I don't place an attachment or a story to the future of that. I'm purely just experiencing myself with that person, with that engagement, with the look in the eyes, with the look behind you, whatever. And I then don't go, oh my God, we're going to date, or we're going to be together. It's just like, well, that's just an experience I have with someone else. Moving on, So that's generally how in my life, my purity kind of tends to flow in that kind of form, when I'm just experiencing myself in each moment.
Yeah.
And then that's it. It's done.
Very good, thanks. Yeah. Where did that land for you?
It was more of a reminder for me that every moment's like isolated event in itself, and it's anything else I place on it, just me, my own stuff. Like if you just look at it just for what's happening when it's happening, and it's just untainted, it's just there, and that's all there is in that, and nothing else.
Thanks for sharing. Have you spoken, Fanny? Oh, let's go, Fanny. Haven't seen you for a little while. Where did that land you?
When I'm listening and listening to everyone shares, I just hear presence and like just being with the moment as it is, and it's like it also comes to attention for me, where it's like when people are making something of it or putting meaning on it, their attention goes away from the presence of it, from the purity of it, and that's when you want to make it mean something or make it happen. And when you just like keep your attention on right now, then the purity of the moment is the experience. And it's, yeah.
Pretty good. Just like, like even like from what you're talking about, I also picked up that, when a child that's pure is looking at you, it's not trying to change you or change the experience it's having with you, nor the dog, for example. Well, it depends what dog. But but you get what I'm saying. Like the dogs, like it's I mean, of course, we can say a child or a dog or an animal is usually non-judgmental. So purity is non-judgmental as well. Beautiful, thanks. Young nutritious, John. Lunchtime, second lunchtime. Well, as long as you don't get too relaxing. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being part of the OMG module of purity. Hmm? Yeah, I did say I'm going to cover something about streetwise, and I kind of covered it throughout. Um, like that's the streetwise. Like this is being streetwise. This is the being like, oh, I'm being soulful. And I'm following what my soul desires. This is what I'm covering. I'm covering what my human desires are. Right? It's coming down in the middle. Just being soulful or just being pure on its own pure is beautiful. Like there's a sense of freedom in that, right? But as you learn, that child still needs to become streetwise and learn how to do it for itself in this world, right? So it kind of crosses over here, and then we kind of cross over here, but we keep missing this middle ground. And like in everything that I talk about, I don't talk about how to get here. I talk about how I found myself here. So there's no, well, this is what you got to do. You got to go home tonight and meditate and make an intention to be pure. Of course, there's none of that with my work, right? I'm just covering or sharing with you how I found myself to be here. And if I could tell you what that's like, it's very freeing. It's super light. It's super effortlessness. It's. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, like if I can tell you about my life and about my story, which I'm not really feeling to do right now, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful for me to sit back and reflect on my life. Which I do from time to time. Just like when I first started this journey, this is. I mean, besides the beautiful space and peace and the serenity that you find within yourself, there is a part of me that wanted to bring what's within myself and live and experience and reflect and express outside of myself. What I'm talking about is what I'm expressing and what I'm experiencing in the physical world is just as beautiful. It's just like, it's not just that inner peace that I found. I am bringing that, and this is the part where I keep going, you got to live what you know, or you got to live what you're being. more truer. Okay, what you're feeling, you got to be able to live that. And again, there was no part of me that's driven to go, well, I've got to be able to live that, because if I can't, that's part of my process. So don't turn what I'm saying into, well, that's it. I want to be like what Amir said. I want to be able to live this freedom that I'm feeling like. I feel free in here, but then I've got all these limitations and restrictions here. What's going on? That's not for me. If there's a process of being limited, I'll be with that process of being limited. That's not what I'm saying. But this whole conversation, or this whole topic of purity, came because I have had people like yourselves who have been on this path for a while, who've had this transformation from doing OMG and having their self-actualization, self-realization experiences with themselves, pondering or meditating, whatever their path has been. They've had amazing transformation. They're like, what's going on here? But what? It's just like, well, how real are you about that? Let's look at that. Like, how pure, and it's amazing to see how an individual will hide the detail of this and of, he's not even looking at you. And that's just I'm using that example as a beautiful example because I'm sure we can relate that with business, money. My latest one has been quite interesting. Like, it's just been, whether it's me purchasing or investing into a new company or buying a product or service. Like, I used to always screw down the price, because that's, I don't know. I'm Indian. What'd you say? I'm not Indian. Oh, but I'm not Indian. But anyway, not that that's what Indians do, right? But look, an Indian said that, so it's okay. But that's what made me streetwise. It's like you can make money by making money, or you can make money by saving money. So I would do both. And naturally would do it. I was just always trying to get the best deal. And I would negotiate. It's just recently, I would say within the last 6 months, it's just noticing how if something's landed in my lap, whether it's a business, I didn't even ask for a negotiation. It's just like, well, this is how much this business is worth, and it's just, but in my experience, the person who's presenting that this is what is worth, this is what I want you to pay for my business, isn't showing up as a predator. It's not one of the animal traits. They're not. There's no I can feel there's no manipulation going on here. And in my experience, it's just been, whether it's right, wrong, I don't know. Like, if I manifest someone say ask for this much, then that's how much it's going to come for. If it's meant to be lower, it's going to drop. I don't need him to say it's going to drop. It will drop because he feels moved. Something within him, which is the same part of me, feels moved to go, hang on, this actually is going to be adjusted here because of this or this. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't need to use my streetwise anymore. That's what I'm saying. I'll go and purchase something the other day. I went and put a phone kit in my car, because I want to be, yeah, you were there when the guy came and saw, and he's like, it's $550 or whatever it was, $450. And there was no part of me that felt, and these are the guys you negotiate with. They come to your house and, oh, well, I'll give you, what's the best price you can do? Isn't that the question you ask? What's the best? I just didn't even feel to do that. So, and again, I didn't try to change that. I just noticed I didn't feel to do that. And yes, I have the money sitting there, so I didn't have that problem going, well, hang on, I can't afford it, right? If you have this story where you don't have the money, well, there's got to be some streetwise still happening, maybe. But again, I play bigger things. Like if I'm buying a business, well, you're talking about investing into a business that's a few $100,000. Well, then that's now bigger money compared to $500. But I'm still playing the same. It's like, yeah, okay. But I'm not trying to be like that. It's just what I've noticed is happening. I've noticed this transformation taking place in me. I'm not trying to make this change. This is the change I'm noticing in me that I'm describing to you. And it's I've never been like that because I've always had the trait of being a good business person, good salesperson. Like, sales went out the window a long time ago. Like, when I stopped doing AZ, when I stopped speaking, I was just like, I don't need to, I mean, Jamie knows. When people buying these programs, I told my guys, whoever's doing the market, I don't need to sell these, right? I just want to put them out there for the ones that are looking to buy it. Don't go and try to, don't get me wrong, they'll be professional, they'll do what they got to do, and they'll make a sales copy and all that kind of stuff, but I don't need to find manipulative ways. Yeah, I mean, it's continuously evolving for me, and I already feel the next OMG that I want to share, and I'm looking forward to sharing that. It would be too much for me to share it today. I'll probably share it in the next FTW trip we're on, and it's all about the feeling that moves you. You know that you said the feeling that moves you, or the movement or action. I'm going to show you where a lot of that comes from. Because sometimes you're like, oh, I felt moved to do that, right? Oh, you'd be amazed. It wasn't I would say 95%, 90% of the times it wasn't a feeling that moved you. It was something that influenced it, that you saw outside, the details that you decided to miss, that actually felt moved to do that. And then you go, I felt moved to do that. But you're just being dishonest, because there's all these reasons you have, but you're like, I'm being spiritual. Anyway, I'll talk more about it. But and I throw such a huge statement there by saying 95% of the feelings is not even a feeling. That's just me talking out of my, I'm just making that figure up. But just from my experience from coaching and from my experience in myself, and being really honest and just seeing a lot of the things. It's like just this work that I do in group coaching. People go, "Wow, you're really intuitive." How did you know to come to me? I didn't, right? And it's not that I didn't; it just came to me. Your body told me. You did something. You moved. You said. You twitched. Your eyebrow went like that. It's something. You're like, it's not. I'm present with you, and you told me. It wasn't something inside of me that went, whoa. In some cases, it is. It completely comes from within, and there's nothing that influenced that. Okay? Now, I've spoken about this a lot in WTF, in Intuitive Warrior, and previous OMGs, but I want to show you the details that many people push aside, including myself, to go, well, this is what I felt to do. Come on. Just be honest with yourself. Like, there's nothing wrong with you being streetwise. There's nothing wrong with you, doing something or taking a few steps towards what you think will lead you towards what you want. Right? And that's what I want to show you. It's pretty brilliant. It's probably going to be one of the most powerful OMGs. Hey, and I never even decided. I thought originally it was only going to be 12 OMGs. This is the 15th one. The 16th one has already come to me. And I really want to share it. In fact, that's what I want to write my book about. It's just it will pretty much beat the crap out of your woo-woo. You'll be so brutally honest with you. You'll be so brutally honest with yourself. Is that finished? Oh, I thought you just stopped. You can't help but to be brutally honest with yourself. You just be like, just like the flick of the hair, and you just didn't see the details. What I want to show you is some of the details. You'd be amazed. You won't think so highly of me after this. You'll be like, wow, that's easy. I could do that. Because people think, wow, you're so intuitive. It's not like it's willingness. It's willingness to go there. It's willingness to be present with you, right? But it's not rocket science. I'm not a guru, Does it take practice? Yes. Does it take experience? Yes. It takes me experience to look at your face and read what's going on. Yes. But it's not that, after a little while, you realize, a lot of the things that have come to me. I'm not, dissing that. That it's just purely like, boom. It shows up and it's there. I get, but just there's a lot of things that you'll see me do it in this retreat. It's not difficult. I'll show you. But like I said, it takes experience. It takes willingness. It takes a bit of courage, because there's a voice that goes, "Oh, what if you're wrong there?" And I'm talking about coaching, but this could be your whole life. This could be anything. It could be raising your child. It could be, it's there. Mums know this. There's something that your child said that, no, I think they're lying. All right? Okay. Right? But it's how it feels. But it's like you could go, hang on, my intuition says you're lying. And that's all. That's what I want to disarm for you, is just so you don't. There's just no woo woo. Like it's just, it's some of the things. I see that a lot, especially I work in this industry. I see it a lot, and some people don't even know they're doing it, and you might not know even doing it. And I just want to point out, hang on, that's just been influenced from that. He was good looking. You thought this and that. Oh, I had this magic connection, like. And again, I'm not disregarding that. There is a moment of boom, and just, but your next guy or girl or the person you meet or fall in love with doesn't have to be like that. That's just something you build up in your head, and it's meant to be love at first sight. No, you might have some people fall in love, they didn't like that person, they were like their annoying brother or sister or best friend they had, and then they fell in love. Every story is different. I'm going to show you the bullshit. I don't know what that module's called yet, but that's what it's about. Show the bullshit. Could be. But what if you're full of shit? Oh, maybe. But we need to identify what bullshit is. Okay, and then we can go, what if it's all bullshit? All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this next module of OMG. And see you on the next flip side. Yep. Okay, now you want to, is it part of this? Okay, we have a question. I've tried to say bye about 3 times, we've come back.
It's just with regard to purity.
Puberty?
No, purity.
The accent.
Scottish purity.
Tell us about the Scottish purity. Pure 100% alcohol.
100%, yeah. Proof.
I'll just kidding. Go ahead.
With the feeling that I experienced when we were at the first vineyard yesterday, I would say that was a purity of holding space, and that's something that I have been very aware of in these circles, especially in our OMG fortnightly and with all the FTW crew. The ability that everybody has to just drop in, to allow you to be vulnerable and raw, that I would call, I feel that's purity of holding space. And that's really, like you said, Rose, about deep grounding. It's a very safe place.
Yeah. I just want to mention something about the vulnerability and the rawness. All right, that's here, and that's purity. So once you go through the vulnerability, once you go to the rawness, then it's only then that you can get to the purity. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. So because people, go, well, you need to be vulnerable, you need to be raw. Yes, that's some of my training is all about getting people to be vulnerable or be raw. Be real, be authentic, be raw. But you get to those points to be able to drop to purity. Purity, yes. Okay, so then it's not raw. It's just, like this group that we put together here, the FCW group, is all about going and sharing the realness, the rawness, the purity together, if you like. We just go out and experience life. We travel around the world. We enjoy what there is, and it's about living what we've spoken about in all these modules, right? So I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to, right? Is like we're in that space. Like, how much crying happens in this group? Can I say the word fuck? Okay, fuck all. It's very rare, right? Now, tomorrow we're going to start the retreat, right? We're going to get all these people come from all around the world who are going to be here to talk about, or to experience the one retreat, right? There's going to be a lot of crying, right? Because they need to go through the vulnerability, they need to go through the rawness. My work is to get them there, right? I mean, ultimately, I want to get someone to this purity, right? The more advanced you get, the less there's cry. Mandy, I saw Mandy 2 days ago. She goes, I don't cry anymore. I said, welcome. I gave up crying. Again, and it's not about pushing something aside. I shouldn't cry, and and it doesn't mean like I won't cry. Like I mean, I haven't cried for a long time. I have nothing to cry about, right? It's not. I don't have anything. I mean, the Roosters lost this year. That was terrible. But I nearly cried. No, I'm just kidding. But you get what I'm saying. Like and that's what this group is about. It's about experiencing that purity. So when you get a group of people who have already dropped deep enough, right? They're not bringing the story to go, and everyone's got these different levels of story. It's like all these 20 drops just come together, and when they get together, they just become one drop. And then when they leave, they become all individual drops again. But there's this sense of connection with each other all the time. So that's what you're experiencing, and I'm glad you're part of it.